I used to belong to the 9T who couldn't be bothered, even if it was easy. Guess how many people have a library card? Wisdom of the world available to transform your life in any value you want. By the way, how much is a library card in Texas? Free? Here's what free is easy. I mean, it can't be any easier than free. Somebody says, well, would you bring it by? No. Wisdom of the world available to transform your life spiritually, socially, personally, economically, in every other way. Catch out of your rich and powerful life, and sophisticated and healthy, influential. How many people have a library card? Answer: 3%. 97 couldn't be bothered. I specialize in happy hour, but he now readily and quickly blames the government, blames his company, and blames policy and blames the pay scale. When you only knew if he joined the 3%. Here's my advice to you today. Walk away from the 97%. Don't talk like they talk. Don't act like they act. Don't go where they go. Don't specialize in what they specialize in. Throw away the blame and excuses to start your new life. You say, well, is it as simple as getting a library card and joining the 3%? And the answer is, of course, that's how easy this stuff is. This is so easy. It's so simple. It's not complex. You don't need a 2,000-year-old guru. You don't need multi-track affirmations. I'm telling you, don't affirm without discipline. It's the beginning of delusion. Don't let somebody sweep you into some contrary way to nature itself. Nature says, unless you labor, the miracle of the seed and the soil and the seasons and God and all the other stuff that's available, sunshine and rain, that's not available to you by affirmation. It is only available to you by labor. So labor well, learn well, discipline yourself well. You can have all the treasures you want. This stuff's easy and simple. It's not ocean waves and seagulls. You don't have to move to Sedona where all the force fields come together. Let's teach our kids the simple ways to transform their health. Number 1, their economics. Number 2, their ability to communicate. Number 3, their life and treasure and lifestyle. Number 4, spirituality. Number 5, and the list goes on and on. Let's not leave out any of the least of disciplines that encourage us to do the next one, to do the next one, to do the next one. First thing you know, this whole scenario for you is spinning up instead of out of control on the negative side. This is all you've got to do. It's as simple as this. It's as simple as starting, committing yourself to life change. And once you start down this road, I promise you, you'll join the 10% and the 3%. Guess how many people can retire from the income of their own personal resources when it comes time to retire? Answer: 5% in the most independent country in the world. 95 are dependent, 5% are independent. Take charge of your own retirement. I'm telling you, if you take charge of your own retirement through personal development and all these skills we've taught today, take charge of your own retirement. You can multiply it at least by 5, maybe by 10, maybe by 20, maybe by 100. Let the government take care of it. Some companies take care of it. You've got to divide by 5. Take charge of your own life. Take charge of your own day. Take charge of your own conversation. Take charge of your own family. Take charge of your own possibilities and learn these skills. Develop this kind of strategy. And I'm telling you, life will open up for you. Join the 3%. Join the 10%. Join the 5%. In our leadership weekend, we teach. Find out what poor people read, don't read. I'm telling you, don't talk like they talk. Lend a helping hand, but don't fall into their poor philosophical scenario. Don't blame what they blame. Don't use the excuses they use. It's called the language of the poor. Switch gears, switch language, switch ideas, switch strategy. Start with the simplest of disciplines and don't be mean to any of these disciplines. The smallest discipline starts the process of life change. And if you invest in this thing called discipline, you can have whatever you wish. It's called the beginning of a miracle. We all must suffer one of 2 pains regardless of your choice of lifestyle and what you want to do. We must all suffer one of 2 pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And what we suggest, everybody, is to consider the disciplines because disciplines weigh ounces, regrets weigh tons. You don't want to substitute discipline for regret, in our opinion. That would be a poor choice. No, you can do it, but some things are poor trade-offs. The old prophet said, what if you gained the whole world, but it cost you your soul? Would that be worth it? And with a bit of intelligence, we say, no, that doesn't seem worth it. Even if you got the whole world, if you traded your soul, that experience would be so bitter, awful, and devastating, it wouldn't be worth it. What if you got some gain by greed instead of legitimate ambition? I'm telling you, it might taste good up front, but it's going to turn bitter in the belly. Our world is and always will be a constant battle between the life of ease and its momentary rewards, and a life of discipline and its far more significant reward. The price of discipline or the price of regret. We will pay one or the other. One of my key phrases for the whole day: disciplines work miracles. Disciplines work miracles. And number one, do what you can do. Not let neglect grab you by the throat. Don't let neglect stall you on your path toward prosperity and health, being able to become powerful, influential, rich beyond wildest imagination. Don't neglect what you can do. If you can read, read. If you can change, change. If you can grow, grow. If you can take one step, take one step. Do not neglect to do whatever you can do at the moment. Of course, you can't run a multi-billion-dollar business today. Mark couldn't either 10 years ago. Mark couldn't either 5 years ago. But I'm telling you today, he can do it because step by step, year by year, he took on what he could do. He didn't neglect it. He did the meetings he could do, he made the calls he could make, he read the books he could read, he took the classes he could take, and step by step, he got himself ready. I'm telling you, do not neglect to do whatever you can do because it'll work miracles of personal development first, productivity second. Now do what you can. Here's number 2. Do the best you can. If it's a foggy night and you can only see 100 feet, how can you see another 100 feet? Answer: walk the first 100 feet. Walk as far as you can see, and then you can see some more. Walk as far as you can see, and then you can see some more. So what you've picked up here, just do it as far as you can see it. And I promise you, if you'll execute as far as you can see it, you'll be able to see more. Do that, then you can see more. And finally, get in tune with doing the best you can. And you'll have the activity that'll develop the disciplines that will set this sail so that you can say, it doesn't matter how the wind blows. For some people, they see discipline as sort of an ugly word. You know, don't talk to me about discipline. But what you must understand is discipline is a most incredible creative force. Discipline builds a career, discipline develops good health, discipline forms the most incredible marriage. Discipline puts together a friendship that won't quit forever. Discipline develops skills that can be magnified, and touch the world. Disciplines open up music. You know you can't have incredible music without discipline. In fact, we call them disciplines. We call architecture and music and playing an instrument. We call it sculpting, painting, writing, and composing. We call those disciplines. And the disciplines give us the indication that yes, it doesn't come except by discipline, but it also means that the discipline is the open door to the creative process to turn nothing into something and to turn imagination into reality. So here's what you must learn to do. Appreciate the disciplines and welcome the disciplines. What other discipline could I begin that would open up a whole new expression in my life of turning imagination into reality? Without discipline, there is no enterprise. Without discipline, there is no magnificent structure. Without discipline, there is no music. Without discipline, there is no health. There is no advantage, there is no future. So discipline is all when it comes to imagination. Having something real, believing in it. The key to development is to be all that you can possibly be. I don't know what your talents are, I don't know what your skills are, but here's what I probably am right on. That you're behind on an accelerated effort toward your full development. I would suggest that. Now, for some of you, I know that's probably really not true, but even as I look at my own life, because, I'm tempted to procrastinate just like everybody else. But, I should have written 30 books by now. I've only written 4 or 5. I should have done a lot of things, but I haven't. I got distracted, and all of us have these challenges. But what could I become? What could I become? I had one of my dearest friends. I've lost him. He died at age 53. One day, he drank a little too much. David drank a little too much. But he did all kinds of things. He was a builder, and he was a dreamer, and he did a lot of things. But his drinking sort of kept him in a fog for years and years. About 6 years ago, he was sitting at the yacht club, and he was in a fog, and suddenly it occurred to him. I wonder what I could have accomplished all these years if I hadn't been in this sort of foggy state. And he said that did it. In the last 6 years before he died, he was free, and he accomplished some incredible things that last 6 years. Being all that you can be and not letting habits drag you down. Not letting things sidetrack you from the full development of what you have, the capable of being. What could all your heart encompass if you really had the chance and you really had the disciplines and really got to it? What could you really become? What could you earn? How healthy could you really be? How many books could you write? How many poems could you write? So here's what I would ask of. If you feel that you're a little bit stalled wherever you are in your progress, I'm asking you to correct that. I'm asking you to see if you can't possibly be on a more accelerated track toward your possibilities and your full development. Here's what life is all out. To become all that we can possibly be. The full development of all of your potential. That's number 2 is the wise use of all of your resources. That's what life is all about. Discipline, if there is a magic word that stands out above all the rest, this is the one. Discipline is the bridge between thought and accomplishment. The bridge between inspiration and valuable achievement. The bridge between necessity and productivity. Remember, all good things are upstream. The passing of time takes us adrift, and drifting only brings us the negative, the disastrous, the disappointment, and the failure. Failure is not a cataclysmic event. It is not generally the result of one major incident, but rather a long list of accumulated little failings. Failing in life is failing to think today, failing to act today, failing to care, to strive, to climb, to learn, to keep trying day by day. If your goal requires that you write 10 letters today and you write only 3, you are down 7 letters. If you want to make 5 calls and you only make 1, you are down 4 on calls. If your plan calls for saving $10 today and you save none, you're down $10 today. Now, the danger is looking at an undisciplined day and concluding that no great harm has been done. It doesn't seem like such a bad day. But add up these days to make a year, and then add up those years to make a lifetime. Perhaps you can now see how repeating today's small failures can easily turn your life into a major disaster. Success, on the other hand, is just the same process in reverse. If you plan to make 10 calls and you end the day making 15, now you're up 5 calls. If you then get up a few letters, move up the savings numbers, you can see what a massive difference it could make in a year and what wealth and accomplishment awaits for a lifetime. Discipline is like a set of magic keys that unlocks all the doors of wealth. Happiness, sophistication, culture, high self-esteem, pride, joy, accomplishment, satisfaction, and success. The first key to discipline is awareness of the need for and the value of discipline, and especially the discipline to make the changes. What will it take? What must I do? And what must I do to get all I want from my life? The second key is the willingness. More than that, the eagerness to maintain your new discipline deliberately, wisely, consistently. And the third key to discipline is the commitment to master the circumstances of your daily life, to see and harness the opportunities, to make something of the sun and the rain, the good as well as what comes in the guise of misfortune. Discipline does many things, but most important of all is what it does for you. It makes you feel better about yourself. Even the smallest discipline can have an incredible effect on your attitude and the good feeling you get. That surging feeling of self-worth that comes from starting a new discipline is almost as good as the feeling that comes from the accomplishment of the discipline. Second, a new discipline immediately alters your life direction. You don't change destinations immediately. That is yet to come, but you can change direction immediately, and direction is very important. Third, discipline cooperates with nature. Everything strives. It is a common life function. How tall will a tree grow? As tall as it can. Everything strives to become all it can possibly be, and that striving to become is what discipline is all about. Disciplining ourselves to fulfill our natural potential, to become all that we can be. And finally, discipline attracts opportunity. Opportunity is always looking for ambition and skill in action. Discipline taps the unlimited power of commitment. The human will in action, driven by inspiration. enticed by desire, tempered by reason, guided by intelligence, can bring you to that high and lofty place called the good life. So start the new process. You can begin a new habit no matter how small it is. Small isn't important. Whether or not you start and whether or not you continue are all that is important. So to have a prosperous life, start a prosperity plan. To become wealthy, start a wealth plan. Remember, you don't have to be wealthy to have a wealth plan. A person with no means can have a rich plan. If you are ill, start a health plan. If you don't have energy, start an energy plan. If you don't feel good, start a feel-good plan. If you're not smart, start a smart plan. If you can't, start a plan. If you haven't, start a plan. Anyone can, even a bad person, can start hearing good messages and reading good books. Recognize that the start of the better life, the happy life, the wealthy life is today. This is exciting. Both the process and the result can begin today. Start the new journey today. If you think of a new idea, today is the day to begin the discipline of putting that idea into action. Set this day up as a long, busy, exciting start for your new life. Get your first book for your new library today. Begin your new practice of setting goals today. Start clearing out a drawer of your new orderly disk today. Start eating an apple a day on your new health plan today. Put some money in your new investment for fortune account today. Start reading with intensity for your new wealth of mind plan today. Write a postponed letter today. Pick up your camera and take a picture of something to start your new treasury of photographs today. Get some momentum going on your new commitment to a better life. See how many activities you can pile on this first day. To go all out. Break away from the negative downward pull of gravity. Start the thrusters going. Prove to yourself that waiting is over, hoping is past, and that faith and action have now taken charge. It's a new day, a new beginning for your new life. With discipline, you can't believe the list of positive moves you can make on the first day of your new beginning. Here's the time to act when the idea is hot and the emotion is strong. That's the time to act. See, Mr. Rohn, I'd like to have a library like yours. See, if you feel strong about that, what you got to do is get the first book and then get the second book before the feeling passes and before the idea gets dim. Action, pronto action, median action as soon as possible, because if you don't, here's what happens. We call it the law of diminishing intent. We intend to when the idea strikes us. We intend to when the emotion is high. But now if you don't translate that into action fairly soon, now the intent starts to diminish, and a month from now, it's cold. A year from now, can't be found. So set up a discipline when the emotions are high and the idea is strong and clear and powerful. That's the time to set up the distance.
Somebody talks about good health and you're stirred, right? You need to get a book on nutrition. Get the book before the idea passes and before the emotion gets cold. Go for the book, start the library, start the process, fall on the floor, do some push-ups. Action. Got to take action. Otherwise, the wisdom is wasted. Otherwise, the emotion soon passes unless you put it into a disciplined activity. Capture it. Discipline is called how to capture the emotion and how to capture the wisdom and translate it into equity. Now, here's what's important about disciplines. All disciplines affect each other. In fact, here's a good philosophical phrase. Everything affects everything else. Nothing stands alone. Don't be naive in saying, well, this doesn't matter. I'm telling you, everything matters. There are some things that matter more than others, but there isn't anything that doesn't matter. We all pity the man who says, well, this is the only place I let down. Not true. Okay to take home. Every letdown affects the rest of your performance. Every letdown affects the rest. Every letdown affects the rest. This is part of the educational process on personal development. If you don't take the walk around the block, you probably won't do the apple a day. If you don't do the apple a day, you probably won't start building your library. If you don't build your library, you probably won't keep a journal. And you won't take pictures, and you won't do this, you won't do wise things with your money, won't do wise things with your time, won't do wise things with your possibilities and relationships. And the first thing you know, 6 years of that accumulated, and we say you have messed up. So the whole key to reversing that process now is to start picking up these disciplines. Now, here's the positive side. Every new discipline affects the rest of your disciplines. Every new one affects the rest. That's why action is so important. The least action is so important. The least action, the smallest action, take it. Because when you start accomplishing and the value starts to return from that one action, it will inspire you to do the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. You start walking around the block, it'll inspire you to get an apple. Get an apple, get an apple. It'll inspire you to get a book, get a book. It'll inspire you to get a journal, get a journal. It'll inspire you to grow, develop some skills. All disciplines affect each other. Every lack affects the rest. Every new affects the rest. Every new affects the rest. The key is to diminish the lack, set up the new, and you've started a whole new life process. Success is not an accident. It is a skill. It is a skill. It is predictable and it can be learned. And it can be learned by you and it can be learned by anyone. And the sooner you learn this skill and the sooner you become an expert in the skills of success, the sooner you achieve the great things that you were born to accomplish. Many people think that you have to be very intelligent to be successful in life. Exhaustive research shows that many self-made millionaires have only average intelligence. The reason why this helps them is because they never become impressed with how smart they are, and they're always trying to learn more. An average person with average talents and abilities and average education can outstrip the most brilliant and genius in our society. If that average person has clear, focused goals without goals, you are doomed forever to work for people who do the average. Self-made millionaires work over 60 hours per week. And this is the one single factor that they all have in common. In our society, you work 8 hours per day for survival. Everything over 8 hours is for success. Somewhere in America, someone becomes a millionaire every 12 minutes. The clock is running. Get ready. This could be your time. Today, more people are becoming successful faster than any other time in human history. Someone, somewhere in America, becomes a millionaire every 12 minutes. At least 80% of these millionaires are self-made. That is, they started with nothing but ambition and energy the same way most of us start. Many of them never went to college. Many of them only got average grades in school. Many of them only got average grades in school. Many self-made millionaires started with no advantages at all. Today, we know more about how to achieve great success in life than ever before. Success is as predictable as the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. Today, success is a science. It has been broken down and subdivided, and anybody can achieve greater success, wealth, and happiness in life if they simply do two things. First, make a decision to be successful right now. Most people never decide to be wealthy, and that's why they retire poor. And the second requirement, if you want to achieve greater success, is simply this. Learn from the experts, study successful men and women, and do what they do, and you'll be successful too. It sounds simple, doesn't it? If you want to be successful, you study success. You become an expert on success. And I'm always astonished that men and women think about success day and night, and yet very few of them ever read about it, ever study it, ever listen to tapes, ever take courses or seminars. They seem to excuse them by feeling that these are the sort of things that they're going to learn by osmosis. At age 25, I started and built a 100-person sales force covering 6 countries, doing $1 million per month in business by simply practicing some principles I had learned at that time from books and picked up from other people. However, as time went on, I lost those principles. I forgot the principles and I reached my state at the age of 30 where I had no skill, I had no training, I was deeply in debt. I was going nowhere, and that's the point at which I made a decision. I made the decision I was going to be successful, and I was going to do whatever was necessary to achieve it. I was going to pay whatever price was necessary to accomplish my goals. This was my turning point. I sat down and I thought through everything I had learned in my 30 years. I'd read many books on success, and I listened to many tapes, and I attended many courses, and I developed a simple system based on the best success principles I had found. And then I put it to work. By 1985, 5 years later, my simple success system had brought my income up to over $1.5 million. I increased my income by 100 times in 10 years. And what I discovered over the years of study and practice was simply this. If you design a success system and follow it, you will be far more successful than if you don't. Any system based on sound principles is better than no system at all. But recently, they've been dividing new business startups into two categories. The first category is businesses started by people with 5 years or more of business experience. And the second category is businesses started by people with no business experience at all. And the statistics turn out to be very different for these groups. Businesses started by people with experience in business have a 90 or better success rate, whereas businesses started by people with no experience have a 99 failure rate. If you don't have any experience, how can you make a business successful? Business is too complicated. The reasons are obvious why people with experience succeed, and like people without experience, fail. It's the same in life. People with knowledge and experience succeed, and people without it fail. We know that the more successful you are, the more successful experiences you have, the more likely it is that you will be successful in other things. We know that the fewer success experiences and the less success knowledge you have, the less likely it is that you'll be successful. Do you know the success rate for an established franchise, one that's been in business for at least 5 years? Well, according to the experts, it's 70 to 90% success rate. McDonald's, for instance, has over 8,600 outlets, and they haven't had a failure in 25 years. Now, why should this be? Well, the reason is simple. A franchise is a proven success system. It is a system based on years of trial and error. All you have to do with a franchise is to do what you're told. Follow the system, and your success is almost guaranteed. A McDonald's executive told me once that every single farmer that has ever bought a McDonald's franchise has been extremely successful, whereas very often and people from the universities and people with previous business experiences will buy franchises, and they'll try to change the system instead of following the success principles. They'll try to change the system, and they run into nothing but problems. One of the great keys to success is to use proven success methods, learn from the experts. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Life is too short for that. Surprisingly enough, most people either never study success, or if they do, they ignore what they've learned and try to do it all on their own. Let's look at some of the general principles of success we've discovered over the years. Number one principle, most important of all, is that success begins inside you. It starts from the inside out. It is a state of mind. It is a function of your character and your personality. Remember, it is not what you do so much as who you are that counts. Number two, the psychology of success simply equals mental fitness, which is a feeling of self-confidence, happiness, enthusiasm, and a positive mental attitude. Because if you have feelings of unshakable self-confidence, happiness, enthusiasm, and a positive mental attitude, nothing in the world can stop you from being successful. Number three, your level of self-esteem, how much you like yourself, how much you respect yourself and accept yourself as a valuable and worthwhile person, is the foundation quality of all success, all high achievement, and all peak performance. The more you like yourself, the better you do everything you turn your hand to. Point number four, the purposeful development of self-esteem is the psychology of success. Everything you do that makes you feel more positive towards yourself and your life builds your self-esteem and improves your level of mental fitness. In other words, when you use proven success methods every single time you do and you get a positive result, you get a jolt of self-esteem and self-confidence that makes you feel great about yourself and enthuses you to go on to the next effort. Number five, true self-esteem arises from an enhanced feeling of competence. Everything you do that gives you a greater sense of mastery and achievement boosts your self-esteem. Number six, your self-esteem is largely determined by how much you believe in yourself. Your beliefs, more than anything else, determine your reality. You always think and act in a manner consistent with your innermost convictions. If you change your beliefs, you change your life. Many people think that you have to be very intelligent to be successful in life. Exhaustive research shows that many self-made millionaires have only average intelligence. The reason why this helps them is because they never become impressed with how smart they are, and they're always trying to learn more. They're always curious and open and asking questions, and it's this that gets them the information that guarantees their success. Many people think you have to go to college in order to be successful. There's an enormous number of self-made millionaires and successful people in every field who never went to college. As a matter of fact, half the college graduates in America are working for people who didn't finish high school, in my estimation. Number 7, your level of self-esteem is determined by how much you believe yourself to be valuable, competent, worthwhile, respected, and important. Everything you do, every experience you have that causes you to feel more valuable raises your self-esteem. Every experience that causes you to feel less important or less valuable lowers your self-esteem, undermines your self-esteem, undermines your self-concept, and impairs your effectiveness. Number 8, the opposites of self-esteem are fear, stress, psychosomatic illness, personality problems, negativity, cynicism, mediocrity, defeat, failure in life. In fact, I feel that almost all human problems stem from low self-esteem, stem from the fact that people don't like themselves very much. Fears of failure, fears of poverty and rejection, fears of poverty and rejection, fears of criticism, and fears of loss that hold us back are all rooted in low self-esteem. Number 9, it is possible to change your feelings, their attitudes, your opinions, your ideas, and beliefs about yourself by feeding your mind with a steady stream of positive, constructive messages that are consistent with the outcomes you desire, rather than the outcomes you fear. If you do become what you think about, it's very important that you continually feed your mind with thoughts, words, pictures, ideas, and images that are consistent with the person you want to be, with the qualities and attributes you want to be, with the qualities and attributes you want to have, with a lifestyle that you desire. Number 10, you should use positive affirmations, which is called positive self-talk. If you like, repeat it over and over to yourself with enthusiasm and conviction. In other words, emotionalize the things that you say to yourself. Say things to yourself like, I like myself, 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 I like myself. Whenever you say that, your self-esteem goes up. Whenever you say that, you feel better about yourself and you perform better. Number 11, visualization. Practice visualizing yourself with the qualities, attributes, and behaviors you desire. Create clear mental pictures of your desired results over and over. And the last thing you do before you go to sleep at night is visualize yourself performing excellently. Visualize yourself enjoying having achieved your goals. Visualize yourself as the person you would like to be. Remember, your subconscious mind is activated by mental pictures, and it then makes all your words and actions fit a pattern consistent with your most intensely desired goals. It controls your body language, it controls your tone of voice, it controls your levels of energy. So, the more you think and talk and visualize what it is you want to accomplish, the more likely it is you want to accomplish, the more likely it is you will say and do exactly the right things to cause it to happen. Number 12, when you use affirmations and visualization in combination with an attitude of positive expectations, you do 2 things. First of all, you become a positive, optimistic, cheerful person with a kind of attitude that is essential to success. And you can't imagine a really successful person who is not positive, optimistic, and cheerful. Number 2, you begin attracting into your life people and circumstances in harmony with your dominant thoughts. This is called the law of attraction, and what it says is that whatever thoughts dominate your thinking, you're going to attract people and circumstances into your life that harmonize with them. And this law of attraction works whether your dominant thoughts are positive or negative. So be careful. If you keep your thoughts positive, you'll attract positive circumstances. And if your thoughts are negative, you'll attract negative circumstances. Number 13, feed your mind continually with positive books, magazines, tapes, videos, and seminars. Avoid negative people, negative books, negative newspapers, negative magazines, negative stories. Feed your mind with positive information, which helps you, which is consistent with where you want to go and what you want to be. You see, you are very susceptible to what is called the power of suggestion, and you are influenced by every suggestive element and you're influenced by every suggestive element in your environment. You're influenced by what people say in the books you read, the newspaper headlines, and the news on television. And if you do not consciously keep your suggestive environment positive, it will tend, in our society, to be predominantly negative. Number 14, associate with positive, cheerful, optimistic, success-oriented people. Remember, birds of a feather do flock together, and the choice of negative people to associate with condemns you to a lifetime of failure and underachievement. Dr. Dave McClelland at Harvard University found in 25 years of research that the choice of a negative reference group, the people that you associate with and identify with, can sink you in spite of all the education, opportunities, and advantages that are given to you. Remember, you can't fly with the eagles if you scratch with the turkeys. Get around winners, get around positive people, get away from negative people. Get out of negative people, get out of negative corporate environments, get out of negative relationships. Don't associate with losers. It doesn't matter how long you've known them. If you associate with losers, you will be a loser. And if you associate with winners, you will be a winner. And by the way, sometimes people say, well, if I disassociate myself from my friends, how am I going to meet successful, positive, winning human beings? Don't worry about it. If you start thinking of success, if you start feeding your mind with a steady stream of messages that are consistent with success, if you start visualizing yourself as successful, you will attract by this law of attraction. You attract into your life people who are like yourself. Number 15, act the part. Pattern your conduct, behavior, and actions after successful people if you want to be successful. Remember, success starts from within, not from without. If you have low self-esteem or a poor self-image, or if you lack self-confidence, as I did, as everybody does initially, it's very difficult to change merely by thinking about it. It means that you can act your way into feeling high levels of self-esteem by doing the same things that people with high self-esteem do. Mental fitness is like physical fitness. It can be learned through repetition and practice. Remember, mental fitness is positive self-esteem, high levels of self-confidence and courage, and you can learn it by practicing. This was the secret that turned my life around, and I have since learned that it's the key reason for the success of thousands of ordinary men and women. Well, what have we learned? Number one, top of the list, most important, success is not an accident. It is a skill. It is predictable, and it can be learned by you, and it can be learned by anyone. And the sooner you learn this skill, and the sooner you become an expert in the skills of success, the sooner you achieve the great things that you were born to accomplish. Number two, if you want to be successful, you must use proven success methods. You must learn from other successful people. You must study successful people. You must interview successful people. You must find out everything you can about success from every source possible. You must become an authority on it. Number three, the great majority of people fail in life. That is, they do not fulfill their potential and achieve the health, wealth, and happiness of which they're capable. They sell themselves short, they settle for far less. Number four, your level of self-esteem, how much you like yourself, how much you respect yourself and accept yourself, and regard yourself, how much you esteem yourself, is the most important single determinant of your success. When you are successful, you feel tremendous about yourself, and when you are not, you don't. And everything that happens that builds yourself. Esteem is going to move you more rapidly toward achieving your goals in life. Number five, remember, everyone suffers fears of failure and fears of rejection, self-doubt, lack of confidence, feelings of inferiority, inadequacy, and guilt. Guilt is the great problem of the 20th century. Feelings of inferiority come from childhood. Fears of failure and rejection go back to destructive criticism in our early formative years. Remember this. Successful people are not people who don't suffer those emotions. They're simply people who have learned how to master those emotions through practice, and so can you. Number six, you become what you think about. The stream of thoughts, words, and pictures that flow through your mind determine your personality, your attitude, your behavior, and your results in life. And finally, number seven is this. The great discovery of behavioral psychology is that if you engage in the same actions as positive, focused, self-confident, successful people, you will come to think, feel, and act like them naturally. that even if you don't feel like it, if you pretend, if you fake it until you make it, if you act the part, you will begin to think, walk, talk, act, and feel like a successful person as naturally as breathing in and breathing out. Successful people are not people without problems. They have just as many problems, largely the same kind as everyone else. The difference is that they learn to solve their problems. Successful living is nothing more than the ability to successfully solve the problems which are as much a part of living as breathing. The problem with the great majority of individuals is not with their ability to achieve their goals in life, but rather with the failure to understand two factors vital to successful living. The first is to make the decision as to what it is we want enough to give it most of our attention until it's been achieved and till it's been achieved, and to clearly define it. And the second is to fully understand that we have the ability to achieve this goal, or we wouldn't want it in the first place. The next vital rule to successful living is to understand that our success is won or lost by our ability to serve others. Our rewards in life will and must always be in exact proportion to our service. It is the misunderstanding of this single law which is responsible for fully 90% of the frustration and discontent we see around us. A lot of people don't like this law, but not liking a law does nothing to change it. The basic laws of nature and economics are unchanging. Thomas Huxley put it, to those who know and work with the laws, they are paid with the overflowing sort of generosity with which they delight in strength. Look where you will. You will find this law in undeviating operation. Our rewards will always be in exact proportion to our service. All attempts to sidestep or in any way avoid this law will result in frustration and failure. So let's take a moment to try to understand people. The more we understand them, the better we can serve them. People down through the centuries have, with the most amazing consistency, divided themselves into two groups. One group contains about 5% of any given population. The other group contains the remaining 95. The big group, the one containing about 95% of the people, never seems to get the word, while the smaller group, the 5%, does. You see, all of us want the same things, but only about 5% figure out how to get them. Within each of us burns two unquenchable ambitions: to serve importantly and to gain financial independence. But according to statistics, only about 5% achieve both of them. Why? Every human being has a tendency to think, act, and talk like those by whom he is surrounded. We've already pointed out that 95% don't seem to get the word in life that he is surrounded by the larger group, that he will continue to conform to his group unless we can do a better job of serving him through knowledge. The failure of most people to live successfully is not caused by their lack of abilities, in their failure to decide what it is they want, and understanding that our wants are governed by our talents and abilities. Anyone who knows where he is going in life is a success at the moment he makes the decision of what it is he intends to accomplish. Once this goal has been accomplished, he is again, by our definition of failure, until he establishes a new goal toward which to work. For this is to live and live completely, to know as much as we can know, to serve as much as we can serve, to accomplish as much as we can accomplish. Well, why are we faced with only 5% who can be called really successful? Because the best estimates available tell us that only about 5% will ever decide upon and define the one thing they want. We know that the happiest people on earth are those who know exactly what it is they seek and set boldly out to find it.
The fortunate ones are those who have found a dream so exciting and worthwhile that they'll devote a part or all of their lives to making that dream come true. But with a great majority never realizing that a persistent daydream is often the point on which we should set our compass, the place toward which it is meant for us to journey. The tragedy is that the great majority shrugs off this built-in direction finder and returns, which they feel must be the best road because it carries the heaviest traffic. For it is the road of the 95%. It is the road with no more opportunity and with 19 times as much competition. Of all the billions of human beings who've lived on Earth, all great ideas have come from just a handful of. Every great leader and thinker has been scorned, ridiculed, poisoned, imprisoned, stoned, pilloried, burned at the stake, or crucified. Mankind as a group has made a consistently grisly game of tormenting its saviors. It comes from following the wrong crowd, What can we learn? We've got to have individual goals, individual thinking, and individual action. And two, we must never conform to the great mass of people. We must never lose our individuality and identity by permitting ourselves to be submerged in this suffocating sea of indirection and purposelessness. There's nothing wrong with emulation so long as we emulate a person who represents that which we wish to become, but never the crowd, never the 95%. Our minds, our thinking, controls our destinies here on Earth to a degree totally unsuspected by the great majority of people. And if we can control our minds, we can pretty well tell our own future. If we're confused about what we wish to become or accomplish our lives, our environment will mirror that confusion. We as individuals can call our own shots for the rest of our lives. We can know what it means to go through life from one success to another. We can know what it means to have peace of mind and live calm, cheerful, successful lives. In 5 years from now, you can be and have anything you set your entire mind and heart upon. Succeeding in life has always been a matter of doing that which the great majority does not do. It isn't that I want to make an invidious comparison between the 5% and the 95%. Not at all. That's just the way it is. And if we don't recognize it, it will be to our cost. The trick is not in achieving our goals, it is in establishing them. A ship would never leave a harbor if it did not have a destination. If you were to climb to the navigation bridge and ask the captain the name and location of his next port of call, he would tell you immediately. Can you tell anyone your destination just as quickly and in one sentence? The captain of the ship knows that he can arrive at only one port at a time. He also knows that his destination will be invisible for fully 99 of his voyage, but he knows it's there, and that he'll reach it barring an unforeseen catastrophe. If he will just keep doing certain things a certain way every day, one fine morning, his destination will appear on the horizon. By understanding that he can reach only one port at a time, the owner of a ship can, in the short space of a very few years, reach hundreds of ports successfully, devoting its life to accomplishing its mission and contributing its share to the welfare and economy of the world. Men and women who follow this sensible, obvious, and meaningful way of life will do the same. These are the unfortunate people who, not knowing the rules, believe that circumstance controls our lives. They believe in luck and superstitions, fate the breaks, and while they cling to their false alibis, life passes them by, remembering that the definition of success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. What's the ideal toward which you are working now, today, yesterday, and tomorrow? Can you write it in one sentence? Is your goal sharply and clearly defined? Every job, no matter what it may be, holds somewhere within itself the key to everything we want in life, the key to greatness. But we must look for it. And we must think, decide to become a professional at your business. You see, we can either compete or create. And when we begin to do this, there's no limit to that which we can achieve. Everyone wants security, but not 1 in 10 can tell you what it is. There is only one place on earth you can find security. It's inside of a person, never outside. If a man has security inside where it belongs, you can see it walking down the street and you can feel it when he enters a room. That's security, and you can't take it away from him. This man or this woman has security where it belongs. And you know where it comes from? It comes from doing what we do for a living surpassingly well, and it comes from knowledge, planning, and working for what we sell, who we sell, and how to sell. Those 3 subjects would fill a large library, but we can take things one at a time. And by devoting an hour a day to study, we can become outstanding professionals in 5 years or less. Second, planning. This means writing down the specific goal we're now working toward. It means selecting the income we feel will represent financial independence to us. Once this has been selected, we know exactly what we must do in order to reach it. As soon as our first goal has been reached, we can set a new one. It's a result of planning and working positively that attracts the good things to us. Whatever your goal may be, write it down in detail. Then, like the ship, you're on course and you reach more successful ports in a few years than most men do in a lifetime. Third, working more than the average. If we're going to achieve more than average results, it is necessary to work. We need energy, and energy is inextricably linked to desire. Unless we have a desire to do a certain thing, we find ourselves without energy. Once our goal has been crystallized in our minds and we realize that we become what we think about, our doubts vanish as to whether or not we can achieve our desired ends. Compared with what we ought to be, we're making use of only a small part of our possible mental and physical resources. He possesses powers of various sorts which he habitually fails to use. He energizes below his maximum and he behaves below his optimum. And that by pushing past the first false feeling of fatigue, we will find an exhilarating second wind that will take us to our goals. And studying the lives of the world's great men and women, we find they seem to be indefatigable. Frequently, people find it difficult to establish a goal toward which to work. Here's a good way to solve the problem. Get off by yourself and where you can think without being disturbed. Then write on a sheet of paper a complete description of the person you would like to be and the things in being this person you would have. Carry as often as you can a clear mental image of the person you want to be and begin to be that person. Soon this will become so knit with habit it will lead you without fail to the goal you seek. And you'll become what you think about. The only thing that sets us apart as human beings is our divine minds. Our minds represent our hope and our future. Yet, as a rule, it is the last place the average person will turn to for help. By devoting an hour a day to study, you're building your mind into a powerful and creative servant. If you only do this 5 days a week, it comes to 260 hours a year. That's 1,300 hours in 5 years, or the equivalent of 162 8-hour days devoted to study and research. In 5 years, you'll be one of the most accomplished professionals in your field, and you will have the world on a string. Now let's sum up and reduce the whole thing to a workable formula, a set of rules for this game of life that cannot fail to take us to where we wish to go. The first and most important thing to remember is the rule that controls our life. This means that we must establish a worthwhile goal toward which to work, a goal that will occupy our minds most of the time. We must fully understand emotionally as well as intellectually that whatever it is we set our heart upon will become real in our lives. We must also remember the law that lies as the basic foundation for all economics and personal. And if we want to get into the top 5% of the people, we must often cut ourselves away from the effects of our environment and become individuals with individual goals, individual thinking, and individual actions. We must realize that our daily work contains more opportunities than we could develop in a lifetime, and that our job contains within itself the key to greatness, the road to everything we could possibly want in life for ourselves and our families. We must realize, too, that security can be found in one place only, inside of us, and the only road to security lies in doing what we do for a living surpassingly well. And lastly, that we must become professionals at what we do, and that becoming a pro involves knowledge, planning, and working. Planning by establishing the goal, which automatically establishes our work pattern. But it took time, dedication, and work in its accomplishment. Is it worth it? You bet it is, and you will become what you think about.